Hi everyone, this is Kyle Carlin. I'm going to be doing a Snapshot PD on positive behavior support plans, or also known as PBS plans. The purpose of this session will be to share the purpose of positive behavior support plans, why we need to use them, and then the key parts of those plans. The first purpose of a positive behavior support plan is the legal purpose. Legally, IEP teams must consider the use of positive behavioral interventions and supports and other strategies that address behavior if a child's behavior impedes that child's learning or the learning of others. Also, if a manifestation or if a behavior is determined to be a manifestation of the child's disability, the IEP team must implement a behavior intervention plan for the child. So if there's a student with behavior, we have an obligation to be considering and in some cases implementing behavior support strategies that will support the behaviors that are being addressed. Another purpose for positive behavior support plans is educationally. The positive behavior support plan provides a roadmap for reducing problematic behaviors and increasing positive behaviors. It helps identify the structures that encourage positive behavior and minimize those structures that minimize problematic behaviors. It identifies skills that need to be taught to the student, such as appropriate behaviors, coping skills, or even teaching them how the behavior plan works and how it will impact them. The plan also identifies strategies to increase observation, to increase active supervision, to improve data tracking, and to review processes to make sure that the plan is being implemented appropriately and is working as it was intended. The plan also identifies positive interactions and reinforcements that will be used and identifies how effective corrective feedback will be given to the student. You'll notice that the components of STOIC from our CHAMPS classroom management show up here through the structures, what will be taught, the observations, the positive interactions, and the corrective feedback. The other purpose for positive behavior support plans is organizational. These plans ensure that all school staff support behavior in a consistent, predictable manner for the student and for everybody else involved. All staff members are responsible for following the plan as promised to the parent. No exceptions. Just because one adult does not approve of the plan is not the reason to not carry out the plan. If there is a problem, that can be brought through the IEP team for consideration of a change. The plan is written to address organizationally, this plan helps address adult behavior as much as the student's behavior. We're trying to show how we're going to set up structure, what we're going to teach, how we're going to monitor for the appropriate behaviors or the problematic behaviors, and then how we're going to interact through the positive and the corrective feedback that the student will need to learn the new skills. Now we're going to get into the key parts of the PBS plan. These key parts include the problem behavior, preventive procedures, replacement behavior, immediate interventions and strategies, a safety plan, and the evaluation. You'll notice these parts are in our behavior plans in WebKids. First, with the problem behavior, we need to make sure that everybody is addressing the same behaviors in the same way, and determining what is a problematic behavior in the same way. So we need to provide an operational definition of the behavior being addressed by the plan. An example here is for noncompliance. In this case, noncompliance is defined as any occurrence of saying, no, I don't want to, I won't do it. The specifics here should not be used as a copy and paste, but just to show how detailed we need to be in defining a particular behavior. You'll see another example here on leaving the seat or carpet area without permission. This is for a definition for elopement and what they might be using. Each team needs to define those behaviors in a very specific way so that no matter who the observer is or who the adult is that's carrying out the plan can respond appropriately to the behaviors as they are shown. The next part of the plan is the preventive procedures. These prevention procedures are the things that we're going to do to reduce the likelihood that the problem behavior even occurs. We need to describe the procedures as detailed as possible to meet the stranger test, meaning No matter who picks up that plan, whether it's a current team member or a future team member, they know how to set up the prevention. What are they doing to prevent it? Are they putting the student in a particular spot in the classroom? Are there certain trigger materials that might not be used? Are there skills that will be prompted before the session starts? Any of those things need to be written down, and we need to make sure we include who is responsible for the prevention procedure. So if there's one person or a particular position that is responsible for that, we need to make sure that that's written down and very clear from the beginning of the plan. If we're having trouble with implementing these, that's when we would bring back the plan and say, what do we need to change? Do more people need to be involved? Do we need to adjust it? But we need to make sure that we're consistent and have it written as detailed as possible. The next part of the plan is the replacement behavior. So this is usually the inverse of the problem behavior. We need to describe the desired behavior that we're going to teach and reinforce. We need to describe it in as much detail as the problem behavior. And we need to include who is responsible for teaching that skill or implementing the procedures that will support the positive behavior. This includes steps that will be used to implement the replacement behavior. So if we're trying to teach a kid to use a particular coping skill instead of breaking their pencil, we're going to describe what that coping skill is and describe how we know it's being used. And then we're going to also describe who's going to teach it, how often, and how are we going to fade the teaching and the prompting. The next part of the positive behavior support plan is the immediate interventions and strategies. And these are the strategies that we're going to use when the problem behavior is occurring in the moment. So we need to describe the strategy, again, as detailed as possible. Try to pass that stranger test. We need to include who is responsible for carrying out these immediate strategies. Is it every adult in the room? If the student has a particular adult that is always with them, then we need to make sure to define if it's that person that's carrying it out. If there are certain people that might enter the room who might be participating in those from them. We also need to describe how often the strategy is used. In this case, in the example, when Fred hits a peer, how long will it last until Fred is calm and can verbalize an alternative choice, and where the strategy will be carried out in the setting where the behavior occurred is an example of that. These immediate strategies are the things we're doing to de-escalate the child and get them back to a point of being able to participate in class. The next part of the positive behavior support plan is the safety plan. For some problem behaviors, these behaviors may be dangerous for the student themselves, for other students in the room, or for the adults that work with them. If we foresee that as a problem for a particular student, then we need to define that in this plan. We need to identify what safety procedures will take place. Will the student be moved? Will other students be moved? If there are any exclusions for why a student maybe couldn't have an emergency safety intervention used with them, this would be written here. Anything that we're doing to keep everybody involved safe related to the behavior and in the carrying out of the behavior plan. And then the next step, or the next part of the positive behavior support plan, is evaluation. In this part, this is how we're going to discuss the behavior. We will discuss how the behavior plan is being evaluated. So this may include the implementation fidelity measures that are being used, measurements of the student's target behavior, or measurement of the replacement behavior. We need to include each evaluation method that we are going to be using in this section of the plan. We need to identify who is responsible for collecting the data and measuring at different points. We can use the position or the name as appropriate as we have across the rest of this plan. We need to include when data and measures will be collected and how often they're going to be analyzed to see if changes to the plan are needed. Every student with a positive behavior support plan should have a goal that goes along with that plan. The data that is a part of this evaluation piece should line up well with the IEP goal. There may be more data that's being collected than just the IEP goal, but the IEP goal should be a piece of this data. Okay, and then the last section of the plan, of our plan that's on WebKids, this is where we will put the dates of future reviews or dates of reviews that have already happened. This just shows how diligent the team is in being proactive about the behaviors that are occurring. The behavior plan oftentimes need adjusted or at least reviewed more frequently than the IEP does. Instead of waiting a full year, we might be meeting monthly or every quarter just to make sure that the data or that the plan is working as expected. The signatures on the PBIS plan are only needed during the plan reviews that take place separate from the IEP meeting. If the behavior plan is being implemented as part of an annual IEP review or an initial placement, then the signatures on that form are not necessary. So the main takeaways of positive behavior support plans. Positive behavior support plans are generally underutilized. Oftentimes there are behaviors, oftentimes I see teams really only using behavior plans with those aggressive behaviors, but there are things like homework turning in, attendance, and really any other behavior that might be impeding a student's access to their learning that could be a good place to use a positive behavior support plan. So I think teams should consider the use of them a little bit more. If a PBS plan is in place, a goal should also be on the IEP. It's hard to show that a behavior plan is working if we don't have a goal that's going with it. And for each parent, we really should be communicating more about how those things are working. PBS plans are about adult behavior in addition to student behavior. This means that while the plan is written because there are behaviors of the student that are not working in the classroom or working in other educational settings, the plan is about getting all of the adults that work with that student in a consistent, interacting with them in a consistent manner. The plan will not work if the adults are not doing things in unison. And then PBIS plans are non-negotiable. If a change is needed, it needs to be done so as an IEP team. No one person can say we're not doing this part of the IEP or this part of the PBIS plan. They cannot say, well, I don't agree with that, so I'm not doing it. The plan is a promise that we have towards the parents, or is a promise we've made to the parents, and the plan is what the team has come up with as the best way for addressing the child's needs. Failure to follow the plan could put somebody, or could say that we are not providing the student with an appropriate education because the IEP team has defined appropriate education as including this behavior plan. So if there are concerns about something that's in the plan, all team members need to be aware that they need to bring that to the case manager or the principal, and then the plan can be reviewed as a team to determine if a change is needed and how we will meet the needs with that change. There are some additional resources that I'll be sharing along with this video. I'll send them out with the link, but the CHAMPS and PBIS page on USD49.com, it includes strategies, includes progress monitoring tools, and a bunch of other resources. There's also links on there to other websites that have intervention ideas, tools that can be helpful with data collection, and a whole bunch of other resources. All right, I thank you all for your time. Once this video gets posted, any questions that come up, you can direct them to Kyle Carlin, and I will be happy to see how your situation fits with these plans. Thank you and have a good day.